I mean, she goes through her father's death for the first time, like, publicly in the book, which is something that is a story she never talked about. I think she felt protective of sharing that moment.
Elvis Presley, dubbed as the King of Rock and Roll, though constantly in the spotlight, lived a life full of mysteries and secrecy even until his death. Many fans have always wished they could get to know more details of their beloved and favorite icon. Fortunately, his granddaughter, Riley Keough, has made the headlines with recent steaming revelations about the upstairs of Elvis Presley's home, known as Graceland. This sheds more light to Elvis's persona, with some claiming it will solve the puzzle of his legendary life after several decades. What does she have to say? Join us in this video as we unveil the details that will leave you stunned. Before we dive in, let's revisit his time of fame and his last moments at his Graceland home. Elvis Presley's unmatched musical career. Elvis Presley had an incredible impact on the music industry. He had 149 songs make it onto the US Billboard Hot 100 pop chart, with 114 reaching the top 40, 40 making it into the top 10, and 18 hitting number 1. His number 1 songs stayed at the top for a total of 80 weeks. He is the all-time best-selling solo artist, with over 1 billion records sold worldwide. Elvis was also a movie star with 31 successful feature films. Even though he rarely performed outside the US, he became internationally famous, with his music and movies loved all over the world. He was a legend, only his first name needed. Elvis broke many barriers and set records that will never be broken. His shows, Las Vegas especially, were like history in the making, and more than likely a record-breaking crowd. His high-energy performances set a standard that other artists still try to match. Elvis is one of the top-selling artists of all time, selling over 500 million records worldwide. He holds records for top 10 and number 1 hits, though the numbers vary based on how they are counted. For example, his double-sided singles like Hound Dog, Don't Be Cruel came out before the Billboard Hot 100 chart was created. The King has the most top 10 hits, 38 to be exact, as Joel Whitburn, who is an expert on music, can tell you, but Madonna has just as many. But Billboard has him at number 2 with 36 top 10s. Both agree that the Beatles hold the record for the most number 1 hits with 20. While Elvis comes in third with 17 or 18, depending on the source. Elvis spent 79 or 80 weeks at number 1, a record second only to Mariah Carey's 91 weeks. He holds the record in the UK for the most number 1 singles, 21, and most top 10 singles, 76. As an album artist, Elvis holds the record for the most albums on the Billboard 200, with 129, far ahead of Frank Sinatra, who has 82. He also holds the record for the most weeks at number 1 on the Billboard 200 for a male solo artist, with 67 weeks. In 2015 and 2016, 2 albums featuring Elvis's vocals with music by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, If I Can Dream and The Wonder of You, both reached number 1 in the UK. This gave him a record 13 number 1 UK albums for a solo artist, and the longest time between number 1 albums, starting from 1956. According to the RIAA, Recording Industry Association of America, Elvis has sold 146.5 million certified albums in the USA alone, and is ranked 3rd all-time in sales behind the Beatles and Garth Brooks as of 2023. He has the most number of gold albums, 101, platinum albums, and 25 multi-platinum albums, second only to the Beatles' 26. Elvis has 197 album certifications, a Diamond Award, and that is so much more than the Beatles' 122. He's also tied for 9th in gold singles and ranks 16th in platinum singles. In 2012, a species of spider was named Paradonea presley in his honor. In 2018, President Donald Trump posthumously awarded Elvis the Presidential Medal of Freedom. What then were his final moments, and what secrets does his granddaughter, Riley Keough, reveal about the upstairs of his Graceland home? Keep watching to find out. Elvis Presley's last moments at his Graceland home. Elvis Presley's final 24 hours at his Graceland home were marked by a mix of routine activities, interactions with his inner circle, and a tragic, lonely end. On August 18, 1977, the world lost the king of rock and roll, but the hours leading up to his death provide a glimpse into his final moments. Elvis was surrounded by those closest to him, including his fiancée, Ginger Alden, and the group known as the Memphis Mafia, along with his family. Despite the company, he spent much of his last hours alone, a contrast to the vibrant, energetic life he was known for. Graceland was always active, running on Elvis's nocturnal schedule. He preferred staying up late into the night, often playing music or engaging in various activities like racquetball, and he slept during the day. Even in these final hours, his home remained filled with people, from staff members to family, ensuring his needs were met. On August 15, 1977, Elvis woke up at 4:00 p.m., following his usual pattern of sleeping through the day. He spent time with Ginger and his daughter, Lisa Marie, who was visiting Graceland. Ginger often stayed over, though she had never fully moved in, despite Elvis's request. She once said, "He had asked me to move into Graceland, but I never did." He said, "I respect you for that. I just didn't at the time. It wasn't my way." That evening, at 10:30 p.m., Elvis and Ginger left Graceland to visit his dentist, Dr. Lester Hoffman, for a dental issue that had been bothering him. This wasn't unusual, as Elvis often sought medical attention during odd hours. Elvis had a close-knit medical team consisting of his dentist, physician, and nurse practitioner who were always on call, ready to provide him with various medications, including painkillers and sleeping aids. At 2:30 a.m. on August 16th, they returned to Graceland. Elvis waved to his loyal fans, who were gathered at the gates, capturing the last known photograph of him. Elvis wore, even at night, a loud outfit, a blue shirt and a black jacket, and those huge black sunglasses. Fans didn't know that they would see him alive for the last time. Then, around 2:15 in the morning, Elvis called his personal physician, Dr. George Nick Nikopoulos, demanding some pain medications. So Dr. Nick wrote a prescription for 6 Dilaudid pills, and Ricky Stanley, Elvis's stepbrother, filled them at the 24-hour pharmacy at Baptist Memorial Hospital. Ricky carried the prescription back to Graceland, and Elvis popped the pills. Around 4:00 a.m., Elvis felt restless and called his cousin Billy and Billy's wife Jo, inviting them over to play racquetball. This was a typical request from Elvis, who often enjoyed late-night games. Despite the rain, they headed over, and in an almost eerie moment, as they debated whether to play in the wet weather, Elvis raised his hands and said, "Rain be gone," and the rain actually stopped. Surprised but amused, they played for a short time. Elvis switched to a piano behind the racquetball court after their game, about 4:30 in the morning. He played a few songs, including some of his favorite gospel hymns, and then began singing "Blue Eyes, Crying in the Rain." It was a quiet, serene, and personal moment that they all didn't know would be one of his last. About 5 a.m., Elvis and Ginger went into his bedroom. Elvis took the prescribed sleep medication prepared for him by Dr. Nick, which was handed over by his nurse, Tish Henley. Elvis had been relying on a regular cocktail of medications to help him sleep, and this night was no different. However, despite the medication, Elvis couldn't settle down. At the time of 7 a.m., he was still awake and asked for another dose of pills from Ricky Stanley, who was working until 12 that day. Ricky provided the additional medication, hoping it would help Elvis get some rest, especially with an important show scheduled the next day in Portland, Maine, as part of his ongoing tour. By 8:00 a.m., Elvis was still struggling to sleep, So out of frustration, he called Ricky again to get more medicine, but Ricky didn't answer. Elvis then turned to his aunt, Delta Mae Biggs, asking her to contact Dr. Nick for additional help. Reluctant, but aware of Elvis's desperate state, Nurse Henley provided Delta Mae with a smaller packet of pills, which contained 2 Valmid tablets, a stronger medication for severe insomnia. Elvis's 9-year-old daughter, Lisa Marie, was sleeping in the room next to him. Elvis took the medication, hoping to finally fall asleep. How did his once peaceful stay at Graceland turn into mourning? Let's dive in. The details will make you cry. The dark moments at Graceland and the aftermath. At 2 p.m. on August 16, 1977, Ginger woke up and realized that Elvis had not come back to bed. Concerned, she went to the bathroom and found him lying unresponsive on the floor. She screamed for help, and his staff quickly responded. Elvis Presley was rushed to Baptist Memorial Hospital, where, despite frantic attempts to resuscitate him, was pronounced dead at 3:30 p.m. Elvis's death marked the end of an era, and the world mourned the loss of a cultural icon. His passing at just 42 years old sent shockwaves through the music industry, and fans around the globe grieved for the man whose music and charisma had touched their lives. Of course, questions of the specifics of his death would persist for years to come, but his title of the King of Rock and Roll is still intact, and his impact on music and pop culture is still there. The King of Rock and Roll, Elvis Presley, had not been very healthy for a few years before his death. Dr. Jerry Francisco, the Shelby County medical examiner, discovered that Elvis had an enlarged heart, almost twice the normal size, a condition called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which probably contributed to his heart failing so unexpectedly. Toxicology reports also showed an extreme amount of prescriptions in his system, including opiates, barbiturates, and sedatives. Elvis had been addicted to these types of medications for a long time and always got them from his personal physician, Dr. Nick. Prescriptions like Quaaludes and Dilaudid were among those he frequently used. Elvis's health had taken a bad toll in the months before his death. He got really fat, and his play became very unreliable. On stage, he sometimes seemed lost, forgetting lyrics and struggling to keep up with the music. His inner circle, including his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, grew more and more frightened, but they didn't really know what to do. One memorable incident occurred during his 1973 Aloha from Hawaii concert. Elvis needed lyric cards for the song Burning Love, which he hadn't needed before. Many of his fans didn't feel that it had to do with medications, but it was something that he had had problems with off and on during the course of his career. The news of Elvis's death shocked the world, with fans holding candlelight vigils and leaving flowers at the gates of Graceland. Memphis became flooded with reporters and photographers trying to figure out what went down. In the months that followed, rumors spread about the cause of his death. Many of the fans did not accept that it was simply a heart attack, so they theorized that there was foul play or some sort of a cover-up. Over the years, those closest to Elvis have shared stories about his final days, describing a man deeply troubled by addiction and depression, weighed down by the pressures of fame. Despite these, Elvis Presley's life and legacy continue to fascinate fans around the world, and the legend of the King lives on. What then is the history of Elvis's home, and what makes it so special? Wait to find out. History of the iconic Graceland home. Graceland is not just some nice house. It is an icon for how large Elvis Presley was as a man, and an era in rock and roll history. This huge house, which is on about 13.8 acres and can be found at 3564 Elvis Presley Boulevard in Memphis, Tennessee, has become a place where fans from all over the world come to pay their respects. Graceland, open since 1982 to the public as a museum, has been visited by millions of fans wishing to pay their respects to the King of Rock and Roll and glimpse into his life. Graceland's tale begins in 1939 with a Memphis businessman, S.E. Toth, built it for the first time. The house was built in the colonial revival style, but also had classic Georgian and Greek revival features that made it look stately and classic. It started out as a modest house of 10 rooms on a 500-acre estate. But it turned into Elvis Presley's greatness because of his ideas and renovations. Elvis bought Graceland, what a big house, in 1957 for a mere $12,500. What a deal. Before he made it his home, the house was not at all the luxurious place it would become. The land was quiet and pretty, but not the red carpet that Elvis would later roll out. He loved the house when he first moved in, but he put his touch on it and really came to love the house a lot. Presley thought of Graceland as more than just a house. It was his own personal haven. He altered a lot of things as the years passed to fit his interests and lifestyle. The Jungle Room, which was added in the late 1960s and has bright green carpeting and furniture that looks like it came from Polynesia, was one of the most noticeable changes. Elvis's obsession with funky and eclectic decor led to this room, and it quickly became one of the most well-known rooms at Graceland. Elvis not only added the Jungle Room, but remodeled and changed much of the house to make it his own. In doing so, he made a place that was a hideaway from everyone else, but also a display of his grand personality. The gardens around Graceland are just as beautiful. They have gardens all around the place, a racquetball court, and a meditation area, which they actually call it, where Elvis and a few of his relatives are buried. It's peaceful to think in the meditation area, which is also a moving reminder of the King's private and public life. Fans of Elvis can come and pay their respects and almost get to know him. So, as the years passed following Elvis's death in 1977, Graceland inevitably became a museum. They chose to let the public into the estate because they wanted to share and protect Elvis's memory. Since then, the mansion has been carefully taken care of and now gives tourists a look into the life of one of the most important musicians of all time. The museum contains many of Elvis's items, such as outfits, awards, and photos. These kinds of things allow the fan to kind of take a step back in time and see a little piece of Elvis's life. Graceland is now a cultural landmark and a tribute to how important Elvis Presley was. This house is not all that it seems. It is a living museum of the life of a great musician. Elvis's home, Graceland, is where many people go to honor his memory and enjoy the changes he made to music and pop culture history. Graceland's history is very much tied to the life and work of Elvis Presley. The second-floor rooms in Graceland, which is not just any house, but a house of historical significance. Although most of Graceland is open to the public, the upstairs remains a private area accessible only to family and close friends. Now, Elvis's granddaughter Riley Keough has opened up some of these private areas recently and given us a look into Elvis's life. Before we get into the secrets she shared, let's meet her. Elvis's granddaughter, Riley Keough. Riley Keough is the granddaughter of Elvis Presley and has made a significant name for herself in the entertainment industry. Born Danielle Riley Keough on May 29, 1989, in Santa Monica, California, she comes from a family with a rich legacy in music and movies. Her mother, Lisa Marie Presley, is a renowned singer and songwriter, while her father, Danny Keough, was a musician. Riley's early life was marked by exposure to the glamorous world of show business, but her parents aimed to provide her with a sense of normalcy despite their fame. Riley attended the elite Harvard Westlake School, where she developed an interest in the arts. Her early career began with modeling, which led to a transition into acting. Her acting debut came in 2010 with the film The Runaways, where she portrayed Marie Curie. This role helped establish her in Hollywood. Riley further gained recognition with her role in Magic Mike in 2012 and received critical acclaim for her performance in Mad Max Fury Road in 2015 as Capable. In 2016, Riley starred in the TV series The Girlfriend Experience, which highlighted her ability to handle complex roles. She is also very well known for her philanthropy work. Not only does she care about acting, but she also cares about mental health and going green. Riley Keough has done well for herself in the entertainment industry, but also carries on the legacy of her family. Riley is still a force and presence in Hollywood because she is trying to build her business. Through her revelations, we can almost feel what life was really like behind the great gates of Graceland, and how these places have affected her perspective of her family's past. Let's take a moment to know Riley's connection with Graceland. Keep watching to find out. Riley's connection with Graceland. Graceland was the home of Elvis Presley, but Riley Keough has another tie to it. This place is so much a part of her life and heart. Riley grew up and visits Graceland frequently. Some family gatherings, parties, and just plain downtime to sit and think. Not that these tours to historical sites were purely for pleasure, but also to put her in touch with her ancestral roots and to educate her on how her grandfather single-handedly changed the world. Riley has this really emotional memory that happened in the top rooms of Graceland, which are completely and utterly off-limits to the general public. As a child, she would go through and feel and examine these hidden places with such care and awe. From the soft rugs to the fancy furniture, the rooms gave off an air of grandeur that was different from the lower key parts of the house. This lavishness was not for show, however, but a reflection of Elvis himself and his wish to create an atmosphere that was not only opulent, but also personal. When Riley went to the second floor, she noticed that it had a classic feel. Things like the silk drapes and old furniture, which had been kept in good shape, gave a glimpse into the past. Riley saw these rooms as more than just historical artifacts. They were places where she could connect with her grandpa in a real way. One room that really sticks out in Riley's memories is Elvis's hidden study. This room, which was full of books, personal items, and other souvenirs, was where Elvis would hide from the public. Riley remembers how she would sit quietly in this room and soak in the atmosphere. She would have such a bond with the man whose music had made such a difference in so many people's lives. The importance of these personal events is very high. For Riley, the bedrooms upstairs at Graceland were not just rooms in a famous home. They were rooms where her family lived, and it allowed her to have a link to her grandfather's life. There was a place of safety where the private and public moments met in these rooms, a rich tapestry of memories that Riley holds dear. Now, what are the revelations that will leave you stunned? Stay tuned to find out. Elvis's granddaughter, Riley Keough, reveals secrets to Upstairs Graceland. Riley Keough's latest revelations about Graceland's upper floors have shed light on parts of the property that were previously unknown. These are unknown facts that not only give us greater insight into the life of Elvis Presley, but also reveal personal anecdotes and trivia about the king of rock and roll that only few know. One really cool thing is that the rooms on the second floor have secret drawers and compartments. Riley has said that Elvis kept personal things and important papers in a number of hidden places because he wanted privacy and safety. These areas were carefully hidden behind panels and cabinets. Personal letters, photographs, and unpublished writings were discovered in these secret chambers. Riley has said that these things give us a glimpse into Elvis's thoughts and feelings, and a fuller picture of his life outside of the public eye. In particular, the letters show a more personal side of Elvis by showing how he interacted with his family and thought about his work. Another important discovery is about the famous Jungle Room. an unusual room upstairs that has always interested both fans and historians. Well, Riley just provided us with some new insight on how this room came about. She says that Elvis's love of exotic themes and his desire to make a place that was both relaxing and beautiful inspired the design. With its rich decor and wide range of furniture, the room was a spot where Elvis could relax and hang out with close friends. Riley also mentioned that the rooms upstairs were for family parties and gatherings. There was a lot of laughing and music in these rooms, which made them feel warm and cozy. Riley's anecdotes about his own life prove that despite his fame, he adored these peaceful moments spent with the ones he cared about. Riley Keough's secrets not only open up the doors to Graceland, but also reveal to us a more personal side of Elvis Presley. These details show parts of a cultural icon's personality and tastes that aren't always clear from his public image, giving us a look into his private life. Riley Keough's comments about the upstairs parts of Graceland have had a big effect on people who like Elvis Presley and on people in general. By giving us an inside look at the private areas of the property, Riley has helped us understand more about the personal side of Elvis's life and the historical importance of Graceland. This new concept allows Elvis Presley fans a new way to get in touch with his memory. The detailed accounts of the secret rooms, hidden compartments, and personal belongings could help one gain a better understanding of the King of Rock and Roll. Fans can now see Graceland as more than just a tourist attraction. They can see it as a later part of Elvis's story, full of personal history and emotional meaning. Riley's statements have also renewed interest in keeping Graceland in good shape. These discoveries have shown us more stories and artifacts that highlight the importance of preserving the property as a historical and cultural landmark. Due to this, more emphasis is placed on upkeeping the private areas of Graceland and making sure that future descendants will be able to visit the estate and feel the same atmosphere that it has always had. In a larger perspective, Riley's theories are part of the overall discussion of the public-private balance. Riley writes about how hard it is to balance fame and privacy and shares some secrets of Graceland from her own life. Her statements provide a more complex understanding of how public scrutiny impacts private spaces and emphasize the importance of safeguarding private history. Every room on the second floor of Graceland is a reflection of Elvis's life, his style, his taste, and the many sides of his personality. The style and furnishings in these upstairs rooms offer a glimpse into Elvis Presley's preferences. But how can this home be preserved as a transgenerational home for all fans? Keep watching to find out. The future and protection of Graceland. They need to save Graceland, Elvis Presley's house, because it is one of the most historical and cultural landmarks. Since his death, careful work has been done to maintain the estate's original appearance and importance in music history. That is, constant upkeep, artifact preservation, and public education. To keep Graceland in good shape, the property is constantly checked for damage. That would be to repair the outside of the house, the white columns, and the woodwork, and inside also. Special attention is paid to famous rooms such as the Jungle Room and the Master Bedroom to ensure that they look exactly the same as they did when Elvis lived there. Not only that, but the ongoing restoration of Graceland includes the upkeep of all the original furniture and decor. Each piece is worked on by master restorers to make sure that it still has historical significance, such as the carved wooden slats in the Jungle Room or the upholstered chairs in the Master Bedroom. They take great care in making sure those are restored to their original appearance. The Graceland Archives, established in the 1980s, play a key role in preserving Elvis's memory. It's his clothes, his instruments, his things, all kept in a box so that they will never wear out. Fragile items are kept in climate-controlled rooms, and detailed records are kept about their history. Another way Graceland is protected is through public education. Visitors can take guided tours to learn about Elvis's life and the estate's history. There are special exhibits and events that highlight various parts of his legacy. All of the money from the tours goes to help support the continual restoration of Graceland. Graceland is an icon not only because Elvis lived there, but because of its impact on music and pop culture. Fans come from all over to pay tribute to Elvis and to be in a place that meant so much to him. The estate itself is an extension of his life and his influence in the music world. For example, the Jungle Room with its oriental decor reflects Elvis's blinding fashion sense, which has left its impression on artists and designers alike. What do you think about Riley Keough's revelations? Tell us in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video shown on your screen to catch up on your favorite celebrity stories. See you there.